on YouTube in just a second. Just a second. Here we go. Come on, YouTube. There we go. We're here. Okay. And we finish tweeting, and we get all of our best buddies here to talk about stuff. Tweet fleet, okay. Blam. And we retweet that. Yes. Yes. Okay. Hello, everybody. We're running a little bit behind tonight because I'm having technical difficulties. I was trying to break everything in here because I am a klutzy fuck. How are you all doing this week? Now I'm knocking shit over. And just to prove my hipster douchebag cred, I do have the whole MacBook thing going on. Just out of shot. Because I got to make sure I got some graphs off of there. Because it just speaks to my soul. I too dance in Silhouette. Oh wait, no, that's been years. They don't do that ad anymore, do they? Alright, you guys are going to have to bear with me because I'm trying to finish the show. I got tied up on the way out today. A little bit behind. It has been one heck of a week here. Trying to keep things up. If you guys aren't tuned in already, you should go check out, we just posted the Blue Horseshoe show, which, let me see if I can get that posted here. SoundCloud, come on. That is not it. Stop that. We did a pilot for a new show. If you guys want to hear about stuff, would love to hear feedback on that. Grabbed a bunch of the other market discussion guys and gals from the SCC Lounge channel, and yeah, it was an interesting show. I think it went really well, and it was a fun thing to put together. It took a little bit longer to get out the door than I was hoping, just because of personal time constraints. Ooh. But reasonably proud of it. The guys who helped out, that's Caleb and Rivra and Marsha Malo, all really made that show excellent, and you guys should go check it out, even if Reddit doesn't like it very much, because screw Reddit. Links are in the doobly-doo. I'll put them down in the show thingy, too. We might be starting 15 minutes late today because, like I said, I am still trying to get the last bits of the show put together, so you'll have to, again, bear with me. I have no idea what on earth that would have been. I don't care. Okay, you are going here. Nope. There are a lot of shiny freighters on the stream. I would love to see one of them blown up. That'd be great. No, that's not that's not where the files are. Jeez Pete's. I am so bad tonight. Like, I don't know if we're gonna have, what the hell am I doing? Plots. Alright, if you guys want to see behind the curtain, let me see if I can get this rearranged so you guys can see. Close that. Right. That button. Here we are, making the show. You know, like you do. That is what I need. So, EC test 30, we need advanced materials. We need PI. Are we going to look at salvage? Not seeing anything worth reporting on salvage. Let's check bombers. It's a little bit interesting on the purifiers, but I don't think that's going to make the cut. Interceptors. The claw's a little bit interesting, but not enough. Interdictors. The saber's a little interesting. Yeah, let's include that. Actually, is that one locked? Lock scale? No, it's not. Fuck it. Never mind, we're not putting that one in. Implants. Nope, not interesting. What about this? Oh, no, you know what should be on the list is the GAs. Because they have been on sale. We're going to put that over here. That one. Let's see. Tactical destroyers are not doing anything interesting. Cool. Now I need this one. Forced moon goo. We walk through those. Cadmium bouncing off the floor is interesting. Cesium is interesting. I have cesium in the zoom in, don't I? I do have cesium. Sweet. Oh god, I have so many frickin' tabs open. That's the one I need. No, that is not the one I need. That is the one I need. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. We mute that. Too late. Can't ping me. Raven Navy issue is not on the regular analysis bracket, so sorry. Serb is interesting. Oh, yeah, top 10. Cerberus, the Gila. Gila's a little bit interesting. Ishtar keeps climbing, but that goes here. Macarial is only somewhat interesting. Proteus, not interesting. Rattlesnake, now that's interesting. Let's put that in the list. Rattlesnake. Stratios. Sort of interesting. Svipple is interesting. Yeah, I think that does it there. Okay. Now back to cesium. Dysprosium, that's the other one I want to put in the list. That's the other one. Dysprosium. Okay. Let's keep walking through these. Evaporate, hydrocarbons. Mercury's interesting, but mercury's not very far on the list. Technetium is not interesting. Tungsten would be interesting, but it's not. Okay. Cool. I do not care about these. Okay. Let's see. Next, we need to do the price ones. Oops. Oops, come on. Open a new window. Yeah, I know I need to automate this. I just, like I said, like I've been saying for 6 frickin' months, I want to rewrite this stat script. When I rewrite it, all of this is going to become irrelevant, so... Do I care about polarized autocannons? I don't think I do. Oops. I don't have the means to go look at that. I mean, we can, actually, I do have the means to look at that. Give me a sec. Charles is asking about fewer fighter ganks in high sec, which, is only interesting to me in that it didn't trigger in the top 10 analysis that I do. It's top 10 by value, excluding capitals, so freighters usually tip that bar. That's interesting. Let's put that in here. Gas. I am not tracking gas. If you're talking about the reactants for T3, I'm not tracking those. I mean, I am tracking them in the automated stuff, but I'm not doing any forced analysis on them. Let's see. Did I make a report for freighters? I don't think I did. I really need to. I have a jump freighter one. I should make a regular freighter one. I do not have a freighters one. That's a thing to do. I mean, give me a sec. Contents text. Neither of those triggered. Oh, maybe they did. Nope. Nope. Nope, they didn't trigger. They didn't trigger either, which means that for all of the bluster, that's not inherently out of line. Ceramic fibers in the 2O group. Okay. Let's get finished with the price values real quick, because we are running late. Oops, that's not in the group. That is trade greased as warp disruptor. Okay. 2.5. Didn't know you could sell Velators. You know, I'm adding it. I shouldn't, but I'm gonna. Wicked, I understand what you want and why you want it, but doing it is not easy. Because otherwise I'd have to spend a lot more time making graphs, because I don't have the dependencies. I don't have the dependencies hard-coded into here. So the modeling software knows nothing about dependencies. So it doesn't know what's required to build a thing, for instance. It just doesn't know. It's in the to-do. It's going to take some serious work. Oops. And it's usually not the ships that are the major cost driver. The T1, I understand that the T1 is a big part of that cost structure, but really the largest piece of the pie is first moon materials, which we do cover. But since we don't do a analysis that compresses that to say cost versus actual, because I don't have a way to do that easily. We just don't have it, and I don't know when we will have it. It's on the to-do, but my plans for the modeling software, the flagging, the next iteration of flagging, as we move into the future, is going to mean that it's going to take a while before we see the fruits of that labor. Oops. Not a lot of ships this week. Usually we see more ships. Zealot. Now that's interesting. Oh my god. That is actually an interesting piece of... That is an interesting slide. Bam. That's what I wanted. Oh, sorry. If I was going to be a true EVE commentator, the Zealot. Alright. I think we have a show. People are probably going to get their hearts broken if I don't cover... so we'll get the jump freighters in here, like we do every week, because I am self-flagellating, or that's not the word I wanted to use. The other one is, do I want to put Quaff in here? Do I want to put Quaff in here? Zoom in 90, quaff. Do I care about quaff? Yeah, actually we do care about quaff. Fuck. That's interesting. Damn it. Okay. And we have all of those, and we have a few more slides than usual, but that is fine. We are going to cut that because we have not been covering the news well, and I just am tired of getting stuck on that slide. All right. We have the pieces all together. Let's get this show rolling. Just running a few minutes late. Thank you, everybody who is being patient. So let me go ahead and do the little FAQ intro for you guys before we start the show. I'm your host, Lockefox. This is going to be the Eve Prosper Show. I don't tend to answer questions during the show. We try to get through the thing in one big take. But feel free to be active in the chat channels on either YouTube or Twitch. Either works completely fine. I'm watching both of them. The show runs about 45 minutes, and afterwards we'll have at least a 30-minute Q&A. It looks like Caleb Aranya is on the line, so we might be able to do some discussion with him in the post, though last week we got to shoot the shit about development stuff, which I could just go on forever, because nobody ever wants to talk to me about that stuff, even though I find it immensely interesting. But that's because I am the biggest turbo nerd who ever nerded down Turbo Street. The graphs. You guys are going to ask about the graphs. They are generated using R. The candlesticks are using QuantMod. I have links to a do-it-yourself-at-home script if you guys ever want to do what I do on the show. And then the fancier graphs are made with ggplot. That is the same package that Quant uses to make his graphs. Under the hood, the piece of work that really makes this show possible is our scripts that do a statistical look back at the week in the markets and flag interesting things. The way that works, I mean, we can go on and on about it. I can totally talk your ear off about it, but that is a post-show topic. So, without much further ado, I'm going to get this show started, make sure we get everything recording and such, turn off the fan that I'm sure you guys can hear, and we will get this show rolling. So go ahead and tell all your friends to tune in. We're looking a little light on the viewership this week, just looking at about 40 people. So go spam your favorite channels, get everybody in here, because like all good industrialists and market people, I like seeing numbers get bigger. So I'm going to step away from the mic for about 30 seconds. I'm going to start the recording. We're going to start the show in earnest and get this whole thing rolling. So bear with me just a moment. Okay, let's see. Fan is taken care of. The screens are all where they belong. Put on the headphones, even though there isn't an audio component, and start the recording. Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Eve Prosper Market Show. I'm your host Lockefox, and I'm here with all of the market news fit to print here on the Eve Prosper Show. I want to say hi to everybody tuned in live. We're live on Fridays at 0300. That's Thursday night U.S. time, and you can tune in on Twitter and YouTube. We simulcast to both. So, without further ado, let's start where we usually do in our show news. First, if you want to support the show, follow us on all of our platforms. You can find us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and the blog. All you got to remember is Eve Prosper. Next, again, thanks again to everybody who's tuned in live. You can catch us 0300 on Fridays. I know I just said that. If you want to support the show more directly, the very best way to do so is at our Patreon at patreon.com/EveProsper. Our patrons keep this show on the air, free to everybody, without any sort of blocks or walls or ads or any of that. And we are here because of our patrons. So if you want to support the show directly, and you get value from the show, I sincerely appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Next, words. Next, if you guys do enjoy this show, I encourage you guys to go check out the Blue Horseshoe show that we just recorded. That was with a few of the SCC Lounge guys. That was Caleb Aranya, Rivra, and Marsha Malo and myself doing a bit of a country club cigar room discussion of the Eve economy and what's been going on the last month. Looking forward to that becoming a monthly staple for you guys. I know that the SCC Lounge guys are excited for way more than that, but we got to take it slow because I'm busy and can only commit to so much. But I know Caleb also has big plans, so tune into that. It's on SoundCloud for right now. We are working on getting a real feed up together in the next week. Go tune in, send your feedback. We'd love to hear it. Last, if you guys want to support the show, if you guys do support the show, be sure to know that we are going on hiatus in June. Our last show should probably be, if I can get a calendar up, because I am coordinated and thought about this ahead of time. Our last show is probably going to be the 3rd. That's the 2nd in the U.S. This is so that we can take the summer off, do the family things that we do during the summer, and I can work on some of the dev fleet goals for making the show and the products here bigger and better for everyone. That doesn't mean that Prosper stops entirely. It does mean that we will be going into a development mode. So we'll be producing more code in the back end. It means that we will still be producing content for the 07 shows on a monthly cadence. And if there's any major breaking news, we will break the hiatus to come report to you guys with the news. Otherwise, keep tuned to the Twitter, keep tuned to the blog. There will be more content there, and you won't miss me entirely because I have plenty of places to pop up in your feeds and in your ears. So just be patient with me over the summer. We'll be back in September for sure. If you guys are supporting the show on our Patreon, a mail will be going out to all you guys. We totally understand if you want to adjust your contributions, but appreciate our patrons through this no matter what happens. So with that was a lot of talk about the show. Let's go ahead and move into the real meat of the show, starting in Plex. Plex has me eating my hat this week. So I had said last week that into the free weekend, I had expected Plex prices to rise very slightly. That even though there was going to be a sale, I expected the reactivation of Steam accounts to cause more demand for Plex than actual supply, that people would be wanting to come back and consume Plex to activate their account or have some liquid cash that they wanted to inject into the market. I got it backwards. And so looks like we are still in a very weak spot. Again, if we look at the whole year, we just keep sliding, and it's been really hard to pick a floor here. Anything under 950 is still a buy in my book, but we're really close to 900 as of this airing, so it's really hard to give you guys really good long-term advice when we're trying to catch a falling knife here. If we go zoom in on the actual market and the buy-sell quantities, the sell order quantity is ticking up very slightly. I know you can't see much of that. The scale's a little bit washed out because of the Plex wall here. But the progress is being made at chipping down that Plex wall. But there is some serious weakness going on. And if you guys are listening to ProBagBear in the Tweetfleet Slack, who is running the Plex wall, he has some rather disturbing reports that say that between him and maybe a couple other institutional investors are really holding the floor on this thing, which makes me nervous. I've been trying very hard not to give you guys to try and even out the panic and say, no, don't worry about it, man. Like, these weak prices are a great time to stock up, and you just have to have faith. And it's making it harder and harder every week to say that as we head towards 900 million. I still think that over the summer we'll see incomes come back and prices rise as incomes do. But there are a whole bunch of signals going on here, and I mean, I have to go between the reality of the statistics that say what player incomes are going to be doing and what player activity is going to be doing, and the sort of general psychology of everyone kind of panicking because the largest market in EVE is extremely weak at the moment. So I still think it's a place to be buying in. I still think the prices are low and near the floor, but right now the trajectory, if you're looking at the graph as of right now, says that the floor is 900, but again, the moves here have been so erratic and bouncy that it is just incredibly difficult for me to tell you guys exactly what's going on. If we change our view over to the RMT tokens, we had been seeing the last few weeks that extractors and Plex had stayed at pretty close parity, and it looked like a lot of the space was closing on the multiple pilot training certificates. And it looks like some of those margins are widening. The multiple pilot training certificates, I believe, are just because the volume is so low that the margin's just going to tend to be wider. But the fact that extractors are tracking up against their parity line, tracking a little more positive on the buy side than Plex, I'm not sure if this is a signal of things to come. We've seen in the past that as low as the buys might go in Plex, extractors are a little slow to follow them into those lows. But the prices are quite a bit higher than the Plex price would have you believe, which is strange. It's a great place to be selling skill extractors, which is not a usual sentiment, I would say, on the show. Why do I have two sets of those graphs? Anyway, next, if we look at skill injectors and another graph that I have to go clean up, the percent margin looks to be holding, even if the absolute value of ISK per skill point is tracking down a little bit to the 750 level. This isn't a lot of ground lost. Most of this is because of the widened margins. I think that people are still not quite used to the wider margins, which the new tax system causes you to have. But you're still seeing a very healthy distance between the Plex parity line and the extractor line. Now, you're also seeing that the that the supplies are starting to rise. And again, I think this is a little bit weird. The skill injector market has never really done what I expected it to do. We talked about on the Blue Horseshoe show that Marsha Mallow, who is a zombie farmer, as she puts it, was mentioning that she expected people to be buying skill injectors after Citadel because of all of the weird skill flubs. And also we expected to see more supply come to the market because of the fax skills. But we're not really seeing that. I don't think that we're seeing veterans really utilize skill injectors as an asset as much as the people in the middle might be using them. I'd be very interested to see in Quant's next report what the actual what the brackets look like for conversion over time, because it looks like we might be losing a little bit of demand, even though there's still plenty of stuff to put skill injectors into. So we'll see over the summer where exactly we go. It's starting to look a little bit weak if you're a farmer, but it's still a great chance to stock up. If you're looking to get prepared for the next 6 months. I mean, if I were a farmer, I would be buying right now to supply out to December, just in the way that Plex cycles tend to go. It's a lot of investment to put in up front, but I think that as things start to turn around, these supplies will start to become a little more valuable in the meantime. And then again, if we look at the actual prices, the prices are tracking down, but this is again in lockstep with Plex. We saw a particularly steep crash on the Friday flash crash. Again, not really sure why we all went into the dump like that. And I think we're still at under 600 million. I think these are a really great chance to be buying in, even if this ISK per skill point valuation is still a little bit high. If you're watching for the Plex floor, I would be also watching the skill injector market as a way to sort of balance your portfolio between multiple items rather than just putting all your eggs in the Plex basket. Moving on to our market indexes. Still looking at the same one we have for the last while. This is on a log scale, so again, feedback is appreciated. We're looking at the various markets. I'm finding it interesting that after Citadel, we're seeing a little bit of weakness in the ship trade, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Strength in the mineral market, in the material markets. General evenness in the not RMT markets, and a slide in the RMT markets as those values keep falling. Again, to get as far under like the 10 trillion line on the RMT, on that gold RMT line, I think is just a strange place to be. I think that's overly weak given the trends we've seen in the past and the amount of Plex really moving around the market. I think that we might just be seeing that the velocities of things getting traded might be too high at the moment. And until people slow down off of the glut that we've been at for the last 3 months, we may not see stability come back. I just don't know what the floor price to get these people to just sit on their Plex and stop messing with shit is. And to be honest, it might be a positive feedback loop where that isn't a case and people just want to liquidate these things. So it's definitely not the way I would have anticipated coming into it from last week, that especially the strong material market versus the weak ship market. Moving on to minerals. Tritanium is staying relatively stable. We're in the 6.4 to 6.2 band at the moment. Volumes look to be relatively stable. We're in a little bit of a breakout pattern, but I think that tritanium is going to stay the course where it is. We're seeing the supply tick up slightly, up just over the 20 billion mark. It looks like we're at a steady supply. We might actually see the price break down a little bit. But again, if you're going to trade in this market and you're going to try and play the margin, you're looking for 4% between buys and sells, and I just don't think you're going to get it. Next is pyrite, which this graph has us coming from an 11.0 and losing half an ESC overnight, which is a little interesting. I think the graph is a little bit of a lie. We see a big dumping, it looks like, as supplies crept up over the 9 billion equality line. I don't know where this extra 2 or 3 billion units of pyrite is coming from, but at a price of under 10.5, especially if you can get on some of those more generous buy orders, this might actually be a halfway decent safe bet. But it's going to be a bumpy weekend to get onto that spot. Again, if you're looking for a sell target, I'd be looking for 10.6. So to get a buy order on that, you still need something in the 10.2 region to really be making your margin for free, and anything beyond that is gravy. Mexilon. Now, Mexilon has been a particular darling for any fan of the show who's been watching for the last 6 months. I kept talking about how Mexilon is a choke point, and I kept eating my words until now that I am correct, even though I had given up my particular position in Mexilon. The prices are skyrocketing. We're over 75 at the moment, and I know I told you guys to sell last week. And if you can get out at 70, I mean, get out at 70, man. We've seen a huge constriction in supply, 1 billion units being pulled off the market for new fax builds and Citadel builds and all of that. We're seeing a real constriction in supply where the demand has not moved. We still have a demand for about a little over 500 million units. And the market is just going nuts. So I hope some of you were getting salty about holding Mexilon for too long, you really do need to be selling it right now. Now is a great time to be selling. It could still track up a little bit higher, but I think I think that's a gambler's fallacy, and it'd be better to get paid now than to lose it when more Mexilon stock comes to market as people change their mining habits. Another surprise in my mind is the Isogen. Now, Isogen, I had been saying for a while that I thought sub 100 was a weak spot, and if you wanted to hold it for a long time, to just buy in, and we should be back over 100 by the end of the summer. Whoever bought in, thank you for fixing the market for me. I never know if some of these predictions are real or if they are pump and dump. The prices are over 100, so if you bought in at the 90-95 mark, I would be aiming for 105 if you're greedy, 100 if you got a really good buy order. The supplies are constricting slightly. I think they're over constricted at the moment. Under that 600 million units line, I think is over constricted. So I don't know if the prices can continue to climb. That would mean that the supplies need to continue to constrict, and I just don't think we're going to see that. So 105, I think, is a ambitious target. It's not a bad one, but if you can get anything over 100, good job on that. This one feels a little bit weird because I didn't expect it to recover this quickly. I always thought that the amount of Isogen out there in the supply lines was high enough that we wouldn't see this 300 million units just sort of vanish the way it did. Noxium is staying high and stable at 480. Again, the signals look like we might see a little bit of a breakout over the weekend. Supplies are looking a little bit constrained into the weekend, so we might see a very slight tick up. I don't know if the buy prices are really good enough to be speculating in this weekend. Sorry about that. I keep touching my mouse. I don't know if the buy prices are really wide enough to be speculating at the moment. I'd be staying out of Noxium, but I always tell you guys to stay out of Noxium because I'm a coward. Oh, I know why nobody's in here. I forgot to ping all the Slack channels. So thank you, Rivra. You're my hero. Let's see. Next. Zydrine. Zydrine is an interesting one. I still think this one's getting held up by somebody. I think this is a speculator wanting to maintain a price. At 1,200, again, volumes are staying relatively stable. Things are staying... Looks really stable here in the candlestick plot. And as we zoom in... the supplies are getting a little bit constrained, leading to a little bit more positive pressure. Again, I still think that there's more Zydrine out there than this, but I just haven't been proven right. So if you're holding Zydrine, I think this weekend's a good time to be selling. And I don't know if we're really going to climb above this 200 million unit bracket that we're in at the moment. I still think that the price is too high for the amount of supply out there. So I still think this price is too high, and I'm watching for a fall. But I just may not be able to. I may not get what I want until the middle of the summer when new masters are holding their west and north spoils and actually getting mining yields out of there. Megasite is on an absolute tear, though. We've seen for the last 6 months that Zydrine and Megasite have been lockstep, even in price, which has always been weird, and I've been rather annoyed about it. But Megasite is tracking up very significantly. And we can see that about 50 million units less are on the market than we were seeing just a few weeks ago. The prices just keep tracking up. I don't know if we're going to go much below the 100 million orders supply line at the moment. So I think we are reaching the peak at 1.5K, and I think we'll ease back into 1.4 over the weekend. So if you were bought in on Megasite, this would be a great time to cash out. But I don't know for anybody who's late to the party if there's really anything you can do about it other than wait for supplies to come around. Again, I expect us to be constrained for the next couple of weeks, so I expect this over 1,400 price to stay around for a couple of weeks. And then last in our portfolio is Morphite, which I'd said last week to go sell because we were over 10K, and then we bounced again outrageously. So we're seeing that the supply lines again are drying up here, and this one actually perplexes me because as we're going to talk about in a bit, we are just not seeing a lot of demand a lot of movement in the Tech 2 ship market, which is really the mover and shaker for a lot of the Tech 2 material consumption. And I don't know if this is because during the World War B events that we saw extra supply coming to market, and now that those warehouses are burned down, we're back at a steady state of 5 million units like we were before the war. But we're seeing way more constriction than usual, and we're seeing prices way higher than I would have expected, sitting at what looks like 14K at the moment. Again, if you're sitting on Morphite, count your money. Pat yourself on the back. We could get up to 15 again over the weekend, but I don't. That would require us to lose about half the current supply in the thing right now. And chat, actually, I know I'm not supposed to talk about the chat, but the chat is saying Tech 2 Capital mods, and they're probably right for a good chunk of it. But the thing about it is that and I have to go run the numbers. I haven't had a chance to run the numbers yet. Is that I sort of expect that even with strong Tech 2 Capital investments, that's still not a bigger slice of the pie than ships. And with ship demand slumping into the summer after all of the fighting has basically come to a close, the prices seem overly high at the moment. So that's why I'd really like people to get out of this before it gets worse. So that's at least my advice, is that count your money and run. The prices might go a bit higher. I don't know if we can get really up above 16. I'll probably eat my shoes next week about that. All right, moving on to fuel. I've gone ahead and compressed this a little bit, and the graph really does need to be updated. I do not have the Citadel line on there. Fuel isotopes, we're seeing a similar pattern as to last week. We're seeing hydrogen isotopes really crash, and nitrogen isotopes stay pretty high. Now, I have said in the past few weeks that I really expected everything to sort of get to a parity point, because if you're going to consume fuel in Citadels, you can use any flavor, and only an idiot would not use the cheapest flavor. I get that local supply sort of trumps the price differential, but like there's no reason that, especially in high sec, low sec, or anywhere within any Citadel within one jump freighter jump of a major hub, shouldn't be using the cheapest fuel in the land rather than trying to self-support. And looking at those hydrogen prices, for instance, makes me want to stock up on hydrogen blocks to run my Citadel if I were running one of them. And same picture, we're seeing the price of Caldari fuel blocks drop a lot lower than the price of materials would have you believe. Prices are tracking down, and this might be because of oversupply. I really should have included a zoom in, because that line's actually a lot more interesting than I thought at the first glance. And then last, strontium clathrates are staying relatively stable at the 5K mark. Nothing really huge to report here, except that the margin still looks a little bit tight, so we might see some downward momentum as people try to get the buy and sell margins to actually be where they're supposed to be. And on to the main meat of the show. We're looking at the outlier analysis. We're going to start where we always do, in the advanced material markets. And I had said a few weeks ago that you should be stocking up in the middle groups of things like fulleриdes and ferrogel and nanotransistors and ceramic fibers and that kind of stuff. And we're seeing some of those investments come to roost. The ceramic fibers turned around right at Citadel. Ferrogel is tracking up now that some of the dysprosium glut is evaporating. We're seeing an extreme swing in fulleриdes. Same with fermionic condensates, up very significantly. All of those middle products look to be extremely good at the moment. Now, if you are running a reaction tower, I would be extremely careful about some of these products, and especially if you're going to change your reaction. Now that the World War B stuff has cooled down, I really expect those new masters to be holding those new masters holding those moons should be putting together the proper chains to get them up to advanced materials. And so the cheap prices we were seeing in the low end in the original products should be washing through again. And this wave, I think, will be short-lived in the short term and will be rocky for a good chunk of the summer. So if you're looking at like a 6-week frontier, I would be extremely careful about being a reactor. I still think that if you want to go put bets in this market and you're not already invested, the best place to be looking at those are the metamaterials, because they tend to be pretty erratic. And right now, a lot of them look like they are in decent lows. The other decent spot to be investing, if you have the stomach for it, is the carbonides or the carbides. They are tracking particularly low, and things like titanium carbide should be tracking back up, for instance, soon-ish. But now that the subsidizing of it is not as good, so if you're not already invested, I would be looking at the top and the bottom of this market for opportunities to buy and hold. But I do not have time to run through the entire investment strategy here on the show. So crunch those numbers. Next, we look at, if we zoom in on some of the markets, we're seeing the turnaround I was talking about. So, for instance, we're looking here at cadmium, which when it dropped to 10K a unit, I was sort of expecting that to be all of it. And then we dropped another 2K to 8K a unit. But it looks like that pressure is turning around. Similarly, cesium, we can see that during the particular... during the events, we're seeing some of the constriction, some of the oversupply, and some more of the constriction as prices track back up again. Dysprosium actually is the really interesting one in my book, is that we saw a lot of oversupply, and I really should have brought a further zoomed out graph to this one, that prices, supplies have been tracking down. It looks like somebody finally bought it out to go work at their own factory, and prices are back up over 75K, and I think this is going to bounce through, especially things like ferrogel, in the next 2 weeks. Next, if we look at PI4s, again, we're seeing the same thing we saw last week. The interesting ones on this are the recursive computing module. Was looking weak last week, is tracking up this week. Otherwise, we're seeing... Sorry about that. We're seeing a bit of a roll-off everywhere else. The prices are still pretty high. It's still a good time to be a producer, but the prices I don't think are going to spike any higher now that we actually have Citadels released and things are going to head towards their steady states. Moving on to mechanical parts. This one is interesting because it looks like we crashed against the floor at 7K, and we're back up to 9K, and things might be tracking up slightly. Again, I still expect the supplies for this to be so high that the actual demand of these things to just basically follow the curves from fuel blocks, but they could also be following some of the other new capital components a little bit, especially in things like construction blocks. Moving on to ships, really interesting this week is the Zealot, up about 400 million-ish off of where it was last week. We're seeing the prices really track up. Not sure who has picked this up as their new PvP doctrine. It has not been picked up in my Z-Kill board filters yet, but also my Z-Kill board filters are pretty amateurish at the moment. So not sure where these are going yet. But the prices are up, and I expect suppliers to really screw with that, which sucks a little bit, especially if you're not sitting on cheap Morphite, because you're going to lose a little bit of Morphite, little bit of volume, little bit of margin to the current high price on Morphite. But Morphite doesn't really take up a huge part of the price picture on this item, so. Next, we're looking at the Hyena, which was tracking up a bunch. This is the little ship that I want to love, and I just don't, because it drives like a freaking brick, and it's supposed to be this fast Weber. So yeah, this is the Hyena. The prices are tracking down, I think, as as industrialists come back to the market to backfill. Anytime one of these things gets over 20 million, I really expect people to run the margin into the dirt. The coming into the weekend, there might be a decent chance to buy in if you can set up buy orders at 15 or 16 million. But I'd be only doing that if you're really going to use hyenas locally rather than sit on them for investing. Next, I argued whether I was going to include this or not. We're looking at the Pith C-type shield boost amplifier. And I'm going to say that the reason this keeps tracking up is because now with the things going on in the capital, the rebalances in the capital ranges, shield tanks on capitals becoming actually a thing. Sexy things like high-end shield boost amplifiers are getting some love. Again, since it's pith, it's probably a little bit of constriction because the ratting has not yet recovered in the West and North. But I think most of it is that people are I think it's mostly because the capitals now, shield capitals are a thing, and they can actually get their work done, and this makes sense as an investment on an expensive ship. And then last, and this one I think is going to be one of my personal favorites for most telling information, is Gallente control towers are way up, and if you want to do long-term investment, I would steer clear. Do not be buying POS equipment if you want to be holding it anywhere near the end of the year, because with new drilling platforms and new platforms coming out, I expect them to come out around December, November, and you don't want to be holding this bag. But in the short term, Gallente control towers, their bonus is for silo capacity, and so if you are a lazy fuck and you want to get the least effort for your money, Gallente control towers mean you can run reactors for longer than you can on anything else. Now, there's always a long debate over whether you should go Caldari so you can run 2 reactions, or Gallente so you can run 1 reaction and just set it and forget it. And frankly, if you have the ability to defend it, medium towers are a better investment than the large towers, because you're gonna nuke more fuel cost if you put a large there. But the severe upswing here of almost 100 million ISK says to me that somebody's buying out Gallente control towers to go and put together a reaction farm. And this is why I think we need to be very, very if you want to make money over the summer and you want to really play the volatility game, this is why I keep talking as much as I do about the advanced material markets, that the moon markets and the advanced material markets are going to be very interesting for the next 6 to 12 weeks. So that's at least where I'm parking my money, if I may be so gauche. But that, I think, ends the section of special flags, and we'll move on to the prediction review, where we figure out if I know what the hell I'm talking about. First, the Genolution implants we're going to look at first. These I actually expected to track further down because starter packs were on sale during the free weekend. And we saw the opposite behavior, which I think is very, very strange. Not really sure what's driving that, especially on things like the CA4, which I do expect to crash back down on the weekend. The Ishtar is another interesting one we were tracking last week, that after Citadel, they seem to have been bought up in rather large demand, and the supply has been rather constricted. And again, over 200 million means that this is a very interesting opportunity for you builders out there. With as few items that are on the market at the moment, this is a decent spot, as long as you're not getting too greedy, to start supplying some of those high flyers. Again, if you are watching the material markets extremely closely, I think that you can really double down on your investment through some of these prudent Tech 2 building things, and not just focus on things like your interceptors and your bombers, which are sort of your bread and butter, or your things like interdictors, which people are going to use and they're going to get done, but don't tend to swing as much. The Ishtar can really eat through a lot of material if you're a builder. So that's at least where I would be parking my money if I were still doing the heavy industry, because again, it can just you can really get the bang for your material buck there if you're playing the game. Rattlesnake is another interesting one. I was not going to go track this moving forward, but then we spiked over the last week, and it looks like there's a little bit of constraint in supply, but I think this buyout is more indicative of somebody trying to reset the market and not knowing what they're doing, because this is a stupid move. So if you can get sold out at 450, I think now is a great chance to get sold out, especially if you bought in maybe a little bit high during World War B. I think the prices are going to go back down to 400 over the next week, but we'll end up seeing. And then just to recap, the triage module, which Rivra had a lot of really good stuff to talk about on the Blue Horseshoe show about this, where a lot of people were caught by surprise about the fax conversion, and the prices really soared, and now they are really crashed. And in fact, I would go run the numbers to make sure. I think they're actually under production price at the moment. They don't move very fast, but it looks like some easy money in my opinion. So do your research before you buy. But under 100 million, that seems overly low at the moment. And then just because we look at them every week, jump freighters, nothing much to say here. Prices are tracking back down now that Citadel has launched, and some of the novelty there is wearing off, and we don't need the land rush to get these things out. We can go back to normal demand. And then last, Quaff Zero, the interesting piece here is a large chunk of sell orders vanished, which could be indicative of a price increase. So if you're watching right now and you want to go and you're feeling a little gambly, you might want to go buy a few units of Quaff Zero into the weekend. And I would put a sell horizon of Memorial Day before, if you buy in. I don't know if you're going to make more than $7.5 million a unit off of this, but the prices are that supply drop is interesting, and ahead of the Serpentis event, I think that there's an opportunity to make a little bit of a quick buck. Not a great quick buck, but it seems low effort. I'm probably going to be wrong, so send your hate mail to prospermarketshow@gmail.com or in-game to Lockefox, and I'll read it out on the show. Last, real quick, since we're running immensely over time, we're going to go over the violence report. The interesting thing I'm seeing here is that everything is homogenizing. We're seeing the SVIPL counts tracking down. We're seeing all the other counts sort of meander in the middle. Again, interesting this week that the Cerberus is back in the mix. We're seeing Thanatos in the mix, but the counts and the values just aren't really as bold as they have been in weeks past. Even the active systems are tracking down. O1Y TAC ED has been a hotbed for the last few weeks, but it looks like that's winding down. And Serenin is also winding pretty low down. We're even seeing Amamake come back a little bit. We're seeing all of those kill counts really track down into the weekend. So I really think a lot of the hot boil is pretty much over, and we can close the book on World War B for the moment. I think we're going to see a low simmer for the summer, but and I'm probably going to have to rejigger these graphs with the new scales, so bear with me on that. And then if we look at regions, we're back to seeing Black Rise and Citadel leading the pack, with Fade, Pureblind, and Quirius bringing up the rear. So, and again, kill counts are down, kill values are down, and we're kind of get back into a steady state. We might see things get a little hot at the end of June into July. It tends to get there tends to be a little bit of action, but the general PvP, I think, is going to go back to its normal murmur rather than its the roar we've enjoyed for the spring. With that, I'm going to go ahead and end the show. If you guys enjoyed it, I'm going to go ahead and end the show here. You've been watching the Eve Prosper Show. I'm your host, Lockefox. If you want to tune in live, you can do so at 0300 on Fridays. That's Thursday night U.S. time. We're live on Twitch and YouTube. If you want to follow us, all you have to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and the blog. And if you want to support us directly, the very best place to do so is at our Patreon. Our patrons keep this show on the air for free, ad-free, no blockers, and we couldn't do it without them. And if you can support us directly, if you get value out of the show, we severely appreciate it. Otherwise, if you want to support the show non-monetarily, tell all your friends about it. Just like every other market industry guy, I like seeing numbers go up. We've been seeing the subscription numbers climb, and I do love seeing that. And last, if you guys haven't caught the hints, go check out the Blue Horseshoe Club. It's on SoundCloud. Links will be in the show notes. We got the SCC Lounge guys together to basically do a shadowy cabal of space billionaires in their cigar club kind of show. And I'm hoping you guys enjoy the format because I'd like to be able to produce it at a regular clip for you guys, something a little more casual, something that doesn't require as much prep or post kind of work. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the show. I've been your host, Lockefox. We will be back next week. And fly safe, make a bunch of money. All right, and that's a show, you guys. Let me go ahead and get the stuff back up. Boom. I'm a professional. Don't worry about that. All right, Caleb. Got to get Caleb on the thing. Sorry about that, guys. I know. You don't want to hear that. Flying blind. That the price parity is talking about a Plex buys you 30 days of skill training, and that generates just short of 2 million skill points, I believe. And that's what the parity line is the price for that 2 million skill points, just as a thing. And so that's the perfect farm character parity point. And it's just a way to talk about the production cost of that stuff. So let me go see if I can find Caleb. Hello, computer. Oh my god, it is so hot in here. I miss central air. Talk to talk, apply. You're not on yet. Give me a sec. All right, and on the radio, we got our caller, Caleb Aranya. You know him, you love him. He runs the SCC Lounge channels, both in-game, out-of-game, and runs a Discord channel. He is the reason we started doing the Blue Horseshoe Club, because he and I have terrible ideas and we're finally acting on it. So that's the thing.
We are sharing the mistakes with the people.
That's right. You were very quiet, but that's probably me more than you.
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure mine is like it was last time.
So Flying Blind is asking about Plex parity and does Ore and Moongoo follow it? And I really wish I knew what the guy's Twitch channel was. He didn't tell me. Mr. Stats, who we were talking to last week. He's on your Discord. I was trying to talk him out of this correlation, and just nobody believes me. Plex plays by its own rules, and as much as I have to admit that there is some correlation between the direction of Plex and the direction of the regular market, it's kind of like a fly versus a semi-truck. It technically changes the direction of the semi-truck, but not by a measurable amount. The connection point is more to talk about the demand for cash than the actual supply, because what happens is that if you liquidate a Plex into the game, if you give your $20 to CCP, you get your Plex. That doesn't change the number of units of trit in the market. It doesn't change the amount of time it takes to kill red crosses to generate that cash. Well, somewhat. That's sort of the thing I'm going to get at. It talks more about the minimum wage of EVE than it does about the actual costs, the real ISK costs of things outside the RMT bubble.
Yeah, it's basically it's the speculation aspect that you kind of hinted at a little bit earlier. It should really be the stored time value and thus tie directly into the labor market and the cost of labor. But because of the storage of value and because of the speculation, and it looks as if it's actually a cornering, then you get this extremely high price. And well, again, this is not about being a doomsayer or anything, but if that cornering starts failing, you will see the Plex crash like a rock.
Yeah, and after talking with ProBag this afternoon, if you guys have watched a lot of these post shows, you'll know that I harbor some what's the word I'm looking for? Some, not negative feelings, the glass half empty kind of guys. Those sort of what's the goddamn word? Anyway, some feelings about like, well, either I can tell you how I think it is, which may not always be the rosiest picture. Pessimist. Thank you, chat. I don't know why I can't talk tonight. Why? If I tell you guys about how I really feel about the things, I'm worried that you're going to read too far between the lines of what I'm saying when I'm trying to be direct, and think that I'm being overly negative, or Eve is dying, which I really don't want to do. I don't think that's good for the show. I don't think it's good for speculation.
But it's not really about dying, right? It's about the change of the ecology. If you consider what you've been saying a lot, right, about how Plex is a driver and all these things, if you compare to the real market, in real life, what you see is something like real estate being propped up by cash, right? And we have something very similar here in labor, because the only thing in EVE that used to be safe is not safe as houses, but safe as labor. So it's safe as the utility of the Plex. And that brought on that whole speculative market. And now it's really a battle about the people that are cornering and storing their value, and then about the patience of the people that need it for utility. But now we have citadels, and this is a whole new game, right? We have citadels, we have skill point trading. So now the patience level, or the impatience level of the buyer is dropping. And that means that we will see it reach a more natural or real level. And then, of course, we need to see the skill point market follow suit and match the whole parity level. But we can expect to see some very interesting things. And when citadels are really seeded properly into the market, and we start seeing them in the wild, we start seeing large and extra larges being an actual part of the game, and start seeing how predation of them is going to be handled, then we will have a whole new economy. And this is also why I was going to drop a bomb tonight. You should be looking very carefully at minerals.
So I agree. So let's go talk about Plex for 2 more seconds. The lesson I keep trying to tell people is that Plex, the real price of Plex, the thing you can really take out of that is to talk about how easy money is, I guess is what I like to look at it for. And when we saw the prices spike this last fall, we didn't see intervention, because the honest truth of the matter was generating that 1.4 billion ISK a month was still, as much as people whined and clamored about it, was not unreasonable. That with the fountains coming out of incursions and wormhole loot and NPC ratting, especially with the proliferation of carrier ratting and Horn of Gondor kind of stuff in Goon Space. All these things put together said that the price of ISK was cheap. It said that labor was cheap and that cash generated by those labors was just cheap, and so we could get a lot of money. We could get a lot of space money for our real money. And what we're seeing now is that, again, the demand for cash is coming through, and so we see a 1-2 punch. That one, I would rather have cash than dollars. So that's a piece of it. And then the other piece of it is that with World War B going on, we're seeing, and Citadels and skill trading, we're seeing all of this pressure to buy, which is moving ISK just so much faster than it ever has before. So being under 950, though, puts us in a really weak spot and starts to get me worried. And especially after talking to Probag, the piece that he was talking about him and only maybe one or two other decently large investors really holding that price floor, has me worried that if we cross the 900 mark, that a lot of people are going to lose faith in the market, and we're going to see hysteria take over rather than the cooler heads saying that, you know, $1 billion ISK is still worth it. Like if the further down the price of Plex goes, the harder it is to buy in for the market, and the harder it is as the.
I think you're reading too much real life economy into this. I don't think it's a problem at all. The only people that are going to suffer is going to be the huge speculators and the very, very wealthy people, because this is not like in real life where there's a barrier of entry and that people need the means of productions and stuff like that. They can actually create that themselves. You can just throw man hours at it. So with a low Plex price, that actually means that more people can get in and be active, and you will see a better wealth distribution in Eve. I think that's the result of this. I could be totally wrong, but I definitely don't see this as a big problem of the economy. I think all that value will shift to other things, which is where it should have been all the time.
Well, okay, so here's where we're going to disagree, is that, one, I'm more worried. I don't think that being at 900 is really a case for an alarm. Like, I still think that we can make a decent case for where we are, how we got here, and where we're going in the next few months. I think that it's especially telling that Plex volumes have stayed as high as they have post-Citadel in these last 2 weeks, because I would have expected some of the cash demand to start to abate. But I worry more about the state of things, that people are stupid and they don't watch this show, and they go nutso. And I mean, as a speculator, you know, I want them to go a little bit nutso so I can make money off their back. But the slippery slope becomes a real problem. Now, I still think that the incomes are going to come, that as an income tracker, as a indirect tracker of incomes, I think that we're going to see things get a lot more stable over the summer. I think that as we get out of May and a lot of the hype train starts to sort of dissipate, and we get back into business as usual kind of stuff, and people are maintaining their citadels and doing the regular levels of war and get back into that sort of regular cadence, that we should see the price of Plex recover from some of its drunkenness. But if we go under the 900 mark, I don't know if I can really make that prediction stick. And I'm really worried if we go under the 900 mark, because I think that makes I think that's too expensive for ISK. I think that not getting $20 buys you less than $1 billion is a bad place to be if you wanted to inject new Plex into the market.
I just think that skill points is going to mess up that prediction.
It could. But again, skill points aren't doing exactly what we expected, as we said on the Blue Horseshoe show, which I think that's the fifth time I've had to say that I've said that on the show, like sneaking that in every chance I can get.
It's just that we haven't seen its natural levels yet, and we haven't seen the effect that should be arising that now everyone can say, I'm just going to free play, I'm just going to zombie play, because I have my skill points. And whether that's at the level of 10 million or 25 million, it doesn't really matter.
Oh, I still don't think we're seeing enough farmers. And I think that would actually shore up some of our positions is if this. I still think that there aren't enough skill farmers to meet the skill injection demand. I still think that the ISK per skill point valuation is still just so high. It's free money. Like I've tried to spoil this on the show so many times. Like I've tried to make the market I wanted to see. You guys just don't seem to be listening. It's free money. And there's never free money in EVE. Like, this is outrageous.
Yeah, it's the way that CCP has now managed to actually create a pseudo free-to-play model, and it's just whether or not people will start taking advantage of this and figure out that for the majority of gameplay, you really don't have a demand for skill points. So the really only place that you have the demand is still vanity, of course, but it's also, of course, doctrines. But then it's going to be bigger entities that are going to be paying for it. So this is about the rich people and the alliances actually paying for everyone else to play when they start figuring that out.
Yeah, I think that where we are in the skill market, I continue to be flabbergasted by the skill injector market, to be completely honest, because I still in my heart of hearts believe the original model of if we were at where I think we should be, you would be making slightly less than Plex parity for using skill injector for farming skill injectors. But you'd be making basically 90% of your money. And what is another 100 million ISK when you're running a farm like that? Like if you're up 100 million or down 100 million on a billion ISK per month sort of bill, like what is like that's 10%. That's a 10% fee. That's nothing if you're already worried about plexing your accounts. I think that we're seeing still that there are a lot of old fogies like me who are very attached to their characters, and even though they know better, aren't going to pull out extractors, who are not going to pull the Johnny Pugh, who is back, by the way. I really did like seeing his new latest show. I always love when he does the MS Paint episodes. And I've been playing Rocket League with him. I'm sure I piss him off because I'm just so bad. I still think that a lot of people are really attached to, as much as we've pegged our self-value to Plex, as much as we've talked about over all of these years that we evaluate ourselves in Plex. Man, we evaluate ourselves 10 times more in skill points, and as much as those farming alts make a lot of economic sense, I still can't understand why we're not seeing more people get prudent with those markets. Excuse me.
That must tie into the fact that it's not so much vanity as it is feeling of achievement. So you don't pull that out when you've trained that for 10 plus years, right? You just don't. It's like your badge of honor. So
yeah, I'm not going under 200 million.
They're not going to pull that out, even though they know that money-wise it makes perfect sense and they're never using those skills. But to them, it's still an achievement. But when that was Iron Bank, did the thing, he did actually kill the extreme vanity and the ability of anyone to actually flaunt it. That means that anyone that is not like 8-10 years old characters will not really care that much in a near future, right? It's not important what skills you have. You can always swap them around. It's a bit like respeccing, really. So it is going to disappear. That vanity market is dead.
Yeah, so like I would think, and I'd love to see CCP Quant's stuff on this, but he's off in Florida being Florida man. So the I would love to see the actual consumption rates given account age and actual total skill points. In that, if we actually see anyone, if we see a lot of consumption under the 100 million mark, under the 50 million mark, that see skill points more as a valuable commodity to be bought and sold just as much as titanium is, or just as much as Plex is. I wonder if the younger players are ready to do that more so than the older players. Even the older players have been going on for years and years. That like you just train because it's free assets, but they'll never liquidate it.
Well, there is the small thing that I haven't seen yet, but it might actually start happening because it kind of reflects some of the player types that I am part of, right? I'm not a farmer. I don't Plex my account. I actually pay for it, and I always have. And I don't really need more skill points. I have the level of vanity or achievement that I really need. I can't think of anything right now that I would need it for. So I've just set stuff on ghost training, really, and I can pull that out whenever. And I think many players that do something like that don't have the same need to farm in a cycle as the farmers do. That means that you can see a sudden influx, like extreme influx of people that's been leaving them to train for 2, 3, 4 months, and then suddenly there's just going to be a flood of it to the market.
Yeah, and I mean the advice I gave earlier in this show was that with as weak as Plex prices are right now, and as weak as injectors are, I think this is a great chance, a excellent chance, the best you're going to see for a while, to really stock up on the materials, to really get your extractors, fill them or don't. It doesn't really matter. You can once you have the extractor, you can fill it instantaneously. So that's not a problem. But you could also be buying into those markets to just warehouse it as people are getting rid of the stuff cheap, because it's still going to track Plex prices. It's still tied to that RMT market. And though I think it's a little bit of a risky spot to be jumping in, really, we're at the confluence between looking like a super genius or looking like a giant idiot, kind of conversion point, that either the price per skill point holds, at least the percentage markup holds where we've been seeing it, and Plex prices recover over the summer, and we go into the traditionally hot period of the fall. Even if we don't get up to a new record in Plex price, I still think we're going to be over $1 billion. I think I'd personally be targeting 1.2, as long as the press stuff goes well.
You're crazy.
I still think that the fall rush is something you can count on. I don't know when the dates will be specifically, but I mean, we go into October and November with the highest prices every year, and I think that $1 billion. I like $1 billion-esque Plex prices. I think it's a decent price to convert both ways. I think it's a relatively healthy price, and it might just be that I'm too old and too space rich to really understand the plight of normal plebes. So feel free again to yell at me in the chat and send mean letters to Lockefox in game. But I think $1 billion-esque is still relatively cheap in labor to get to.
But if we can get off the gold talk for a minute, I would actually like to give a few pointers to the people that have been patient enough to listen for this long, because I am seeing something very interesting from CCP when it comes to their new balancing strategy, their new composition of things that they are introducing to the game. And what I'm smelling is they want to actually improve the motivation to lock on and do stuff. I know that some are talking about the whole thing with dailies, but in the market, this is something very unique. I think we can expect that the next period they will be boosting these things considerably. And what we saw with Citadels and the way that they're composed, they are basically giving credit to the people that do something actively. So I am expecting that you will see a flip between what we have now, which is PI being extremely high, and minerals used to be rather low, and almost what I mine is free. But in the coming days, I think these two will flip, and I think you will see all the passive incomes will get semi-nerfed market-wise. So you will see the prices shift. That means that anything that's got to do with active things, whether it's loot drops tables that are getting fixed, or it's mineral accessibility and utility, all of these things are going to flip. So you will be getting a lot better profit if you put your money where there's active play time involved.
Well, okay, so as far as I understand, the thing behind dailies is that CCP wants to get people out in space doing things, right? Like Quant has talked I think his talk at Eve Vegas was talking about some of the statistics they were gathering about players and retention and how they respond back to retention. And I agree with you, except that in the effect, in the impact, but I think that the effect is going to be the opposite. That if we encourage people to undock and shoot a rat, which is a stat that we've seen used as a measuring bar, then that means that fountain incomes of ISK printed are going up, whether they rebalance the. We can't know if they're going to rebalance the loot tables yet. So that means the supply of money is going to trend upwards, let's say, which again I think is good as a Plex price thing, but we'll get off of Plex. But it also means that if going outside and mining an asteroid for 10 minutes is part of that activity feed, then we're going to see more supply come to the market. And if we see production tick up because undocking and putting in a blueprint or something counts as some amount of points, then again we're going to see a lot more of it flushing through. But I think that goes downward in prices. Like that's a really hard place to invest in.
The point is, Locke, that currently we've had a strain in our whole ecology on AFK stuff, on moon goo, on PI, on things like that. This has been where the strain has been, right? I'm pretty sure that CCP has finally figured out that if they really want people to log in, they need to put the strain on things that are active. So put it on your minerals, put it on your actual active industry setups. I know that some would say that industry is AFK, but it's really not, because you have to actually be in game to start running all the production chains and actually setting everything up and actually calculating everything. Sure, you can say that you just need to do that once, but you need to go in and you need to deliver and you need to move it around logistically. All of this is tied into active play. So if they move the strain onto that, so the times are tweaked, the availability and all these things, you will see that all that will go up, and things like moon goo and things like PI will go down.
Well, see, again, you keep saying things I agree with, and then you say the last thing, and I have a hard time agreeing with your last thing. Because I think that, yes, you're right, that the drive is to go get away from passive time and value active time. And I agree with that. I'm glad to see it. But we're also going to see that moon goos are probably going to start moving towards those new harvesting materials. So as POSs get phased out and active drilling platforms get phased in, the only problem with this is that up to now we've had a relatively easy to balance material supply, where you can talk about how, even though there's 100 times more trit than could ever be consumed on a single day, floating out there in the asteroid belts, we know that, if we make these yields this much, and we kind of understand that the shipping will cost this much, and blah, 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 we can sort of understand the creation and destruction cycle of a unit of trit, for instance. And to move more of that to a more actively managed system, so that, for instance, if you kept the total trit put out a fountain cluster wide at a fixed value, and said, well, you're going to get your share. You just have to be the miner. You have to be out there in a mining ship, and whoever does the most hours, gets the pie divided that way, or something like that. Like, if I may make up an asinine
Remember
mechanic.
the cost of structures, right? Remember that it looks as if they are designing this in a very specific way, and every structure that's going to come out from now are going to be weaker than citadels. That means that they're going to be a lot easier to take down. So when you're running your moon stuff, when you're doing that, you're going to have these entire chains that can be destroyed. They can actively be destroyed properly, a lot easier than POSs used to be. And, well, outposts is a whole nother story, right? Now we are having destruction in the game, and on a level that we can't even start predicting yet, because SOV has been a little bit and people don't care about it. But when they now start caring about it again and start being able to populate space in a meaningful way, you will see a whole new ecology evolve, and you have to calculate those costs. You can be running a drilling platform getting moon goo, but if it gets destroyed, how much time equivalent is that valued to, right? So how much have you lost compared to your profit? All these numbers have to be calculated. And this is the whole new scenario that I'm seeing. And in that, replenishing stuff is going to be big.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you that I think that ISK velocity that we've been seeing lately, and market velocities and volatilities, which, I'm more than happy to stay around, because if the market isn't volatile, I don't have anything to talk about. So I agree with you. There. I still think that we're going to have to take a wait and see, and I hate taking wait and see approaches to this kind of stuff, because I want to agree with you that the destruction numbers will be up there. But it goes back to the farms and fields discussions of days gone by, that you still have to feel like on both sides it's a fair fight, and that is an incredibly hard.
There's no more boat fleets. There's no more Benny Hill runaway stuff, right?
No. I'm not even talking at a tactical level. I'm talking at a risk reward level. If I put this down, like if you go and you say, I'm going to go put down a POS today, and I'm going to go put my Blueprint originals in it, and they're all going to get destroyed, like, most players have a hard time swallowing that pill, even if you try to explain to them, like, no, you have 24 hours to pull your stuff out. And even if you did, like, the BPOs you're putting in there aren't usually that expensive unless they're capital BPOs. Like, the amount of worry you're putting into this does not match the actual threat. That's my only counter worry, is that when it comes to industrial hardware, the risk reward calculation tends to be extremely conservative, incredibly conservative. And this idea that we just need to, like, put enough carrot out there to have people be victims, I always worry about that sort of design philosophy, at least from the players. I know the CCP is smart enough not to do that. I know that they have learned that already, but most of the players have not. And PvPers think that they can just I need lambs to shoot. Why are there no lambs out here? Because nobody wants to be the bitch.
I think we are going to see this, the whole thing with structures is going to develop into some sort of guerrilla warfare, where you can actually pick and choose your targets, and depending on how far away from protective lines, that will actually bring a lot of destruction in a way that we haven't seen before. Because right now we're still in that whole clown shoe era where it's more harassment than it's actual destruction. You're not making much of an impact. You're just shifting a little bit of ownership back and forth, and then losing a little bit in the skirmish. But this will be considerable losses, and these are also your income streams in all levels. So it is a whole new game, and I am expecting everything that's got to do with active playtime to go up by more than 200%.
Yeah, I agree that from a game side, we'll see that. I still think that I'm still in a wait and see for actual consumption, but we're reaching about the end of my time here, so I'm going to go ahead and let you have your last words, so we can close this up.
Yeah, look at your minerals instead of all the other shiny stuff, because it's going to be nice.
Yeah, those mineral constraints came a lot hotter and faster than I was really expecting.
And it seems as if the death toll is not even beginning yet, so I'm expecting it to be strained a lot, especially because it's coming in the wake of the war.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to go, I really need to go do the destruction number counts so we can actually talk about tritanium destroyed, not just counts on ships and stuff. So thanks again to Caleb Aranya here. You can check him out on the SCC Lounge channels. He's also at the Eve Guardian site, and was one of the hosts, guests. I don't know what we're calling the people who show up to the Blue Horseshoe Club,
Pundits.
but
we're pundits.
Pundits, yeah. Cigar jacket wearing, brandy sniffing, pundits in our Blue Horseshoe Club show. Go check it out on SoundCloud. I will put links in the post show. Please check it out. Please send your feedback. We would love to know if you guys love that show and what we should do to fix it or make it better or do it more regularly. Like, if you guys want more, send us your feedback. Again, if you want to support the show, Patreon is the best place to do it. If not, please subscribe on all the platforms. I still want to get to 1,000 people on the Twitter. I still feel bad being behind the hydrostatic Twitter not being as big as that one, but and we still have a few more shows until hiatus comes around, so don't you guys worry. There is going to be plenty to talk about, and the hiatus means that there will be new juicy graph porn, so don't you guys worry. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We will be back next week at the same time, talking the same thing. 07 show is next week, so we'll have another market brief for that. And I think that's everything. Anything else you want to pimp, Caleb?
Fly reckless a lot.
Yeah, get exploded. Make content. Thanks again. I'll see you guys all next week.